Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video I have a brand new tier list and ranking video for you all. And I am going to be looking at all of the DCEU, or I guess we're calling it the DCU, villains. So just like with my heroes tier list video and ranking I did a week or so ago, I actually meant to do both of these when Black Adam first came out. However, the day after I saw it, I got a pretty bad cold that lasted for a little while, so it got pushed back. I did my heroes one, but then Black Panther Wakanda Forever out, so I did some videos on that, and now we have finally arrived at my villains tier list video and ranking. And I'm looking forward to this one because I feel like the DCEU or DCU is in a very interesting position when it comes to their villains. Some of them are the best comic book movie villains out there, and some of them are the worst of the worst. Just as a little side note reminder, I am not going to be including 2016's Suicide Squad or The Suicide Squad from 2021 either. If you checked out my heroes tier list and ranking video, which I highly recommend you do, I included them as anti-heroes because, I mean, they do save the world, and I also just followed suit with Sean Chandler from Sean Chandler Talks About, who is one of the bigger names in the movie scene on YouTube. And in his video where he ranked all the heroes, he included the Suicide Squads in there too, so I figured I might as well also, which means they are not counted as villains and will not be on this list. Also, of course, my ranking will be at the end of the video, so I'll do the entire tier list first, and then I'll rank all of the villains at the very end. Before we hop into the actual tier list itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my tier list videos. There aren't too many on there right now. However, this is a style of video that I have really been enjoying doing lately, and I am absolutely open to suggestions. I have plenty more lined up that I want to do already, but please comment ones that you would like to see, be it movies themselves, franchises, characters, be it heroes, villains, whatever. Let me know down in the comments. I read every single comment that pops up on my video, so if you have any suggestions that you'd like to see for a tier list video or a ranking, be sure to drop it down in the comments below. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. Okay, so as always folks, when I start off these tier list videos, I like to just go through my tiers and list off the names because it's not just the traditional A, B, C, D, or great, good, bad, the worst, or anything like that. I just like to make them a little more me. So replacing that top tier, the S tier, the God tier, I have Godlike. Replacing the A tier, I have Awesome Sauce. Replacing the B tier, Good as Gold. Replacing C, Quite Alright. Replacing D, Super Meh. And then at the very bottom, replacing F, is Rock Bottom. And first off, we have Ares from the first Wonder Woman movie. I'm actually putting him in Super Meh. Yeah, we're starting off with the bar pretty low. Look, I love the actor that portrays Ares. He plays Lupin in the Harry Potter movies. I adore the Harry Potter movies. I think he's a fantastic actor, and he did the best with what he was given in this movie. But if you've been following my channel at all, or you know me personally, then you will know that I love the first Wonder Woman movie, except for that final act and the movie's villains, which there are a few more on this list too. Ares is just a CGI monstrosity that you can barely see whatsoever. The entire final fight is just marred in like smoke and fire and just really gross looking CGI that's all over the place. It feels like the emotion is all over the place in those scenes. I can't get into the fights at all. And yeah, the villains in the final act in Wonder Woman are what bring it down from a potential 9 or even like a 10 score to like a 7.5, probably an 8, because the rest of it is pretty damn good. But yeah, Ares, not a great villain despite how much I like the actor. I actually liked him more before he became Ares. Now we have Black Manta from Aquaman, and I loved this character. It's a comic accurate suit. I think it was a badass villain that had some incredible fight scenes in the movie, or I guess it was just one. It was one when he was just himself, and then you had one with the suit, but still those fight scenes were completely and utterly badass. I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I think that he fit into this role very well, and I cannot wait to see more of him in the DCEU/DCU. I'm not really sure where we've landed on that one just yet. Nevertheless, we have Black Mask, played by the always superb Ewan McGregor, and I'm putting him in awesome sauce. I said this when I ranked the DCEU movies recently. I actually have a soft spot for Birds of Prey. I don't think it's one of the better movies in the DCEU, but I think it gets way more hate than it deserves, and one of the main reasons that I do enjoy it is because of Ewan McGregor's performance as Black Mask. Once again, a comic-accurate look. You can see him in this photo putting on the mask. I loved his more over-the-top, in-your-face performance in this movie. I think he chewed up every single scene he was in, and he had a blast in the role, and I had a blast watching him in the role. He made the movie so much more enjoyable every single time he was on screen. Wonderful casting choice, and I think he knocked it out of the park, if you ask me personally. Then we have Cheetah from Wonder Woman 1984. And this one's a bit tougher. I think I'm actually also going to put her in Superman. We just didn't really get enough of her. I thought Kristen Wiig was actually alright. And just like with Ares from the first Wonder Woman movie, I actually liked Cheetah better when it was just Kristen Wiig being Kristen Wiig. I thought that I liked the quirkier side of the character, and then when she got her powers and a bit more confidence, I liked that too. But the fight scene between Wonder Woman and Cheetah was a major letdown. The CGI was just alright, and I feel like she lost all of her personality when she became full-blown Cheetah. So unfortunately, I'm also going to have to put yet another Wonder Woman villain in the super meh tier. Then we have Darkseid, and if I was talking about Darkseid as a villain as a whole, including like gaming and animated shows and comics and stuff, would of course be in Godlike. But since we only have brief snippets of him from Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm going to put him in Good as Gold. I thought he was an unbelievably menacing presence, and that final shot of him with the closing boom tube and everything like that, and him looking at the Justice League and him saying, you know, fine, we'll do it the old ways, ready the Armada. I got goosebumps. Okay, this guy is so intimidating, so menacing, and they brought him to life on the screen flawlessly, but we just didn't get enough of him for such an iconic villain. Then we have DeSaad, and I'll just throw him in quite alright. He's basically just Darkseid's messenger. He talks for Darkseid to Steppenwolf, and then yeah, he's kind of just his right-hand man, his main crony, so I wish we got more of him too, because I liked the design of the character, I liked the voice work, and I think he could have been a pretty threatening force himself too, but he kind of just gets reduced to the messenger role in Zack Snyder's Justice League, so quite alright I think is pretty befitting of him. First rock bottom character, Doomsday. I think they really fumbled the ball on this one. They flubbed this major iconic villain very hard. Batman v Superman is a mixed bag overall. As I always say, the Ultimate Edition of this movie is far superior to the theatrical version, but that's story-wise. When it comes to Doomsday's inclusion, it's just as bad in both versions of the movie. He comes out looking like the cave troll from the first Lord of the Rings movie way back in 2001. He does get that evolution where he starts to get some of his horns and claws and spikes and things like that, but he's got like no lines of dialogue at all. The fight scene is pretty cool, but it just feels so shoehorned into the final act for the sake of including Doomsday that I just never really got into that fight as much as I wanted to. And again, they're just throwing so many things in here. They're throwing like elements of The Dark Knight Returns, they're trying to set up for the Justice League movie, they're throwing in elements of the death of Superman, and there was just too much going on, and he just, you know, it's such a big villain for DC, and then he just gets thrown into the final act for the big fight scene to bring the heroes together, and that's really all that he's used for. He's more so used as a plot device than anything else, and that's very unfortunate. The design isn't very good, and then again, the shoehorning is what lands this first villain in the rock bottom category, tier, whatever you want to call it. Then we have Dr. Poison, another one going straight in rock bottom. She barely gets any screen time. I like the idea. I love the idea for the character. I love the mask kind of covering part of her face, and then when she takes the mask off, I think she could have been such a menacing presence. She's creating this gas that can eat through gas masks and kill just thousands upon thousands of soldiers, and it could have been something that was extremely well executed, but instead she just gets reduced to, you know, a side plot device, and that's pretty much it. She shows up every now and again, has some lines that are kind of corny and kind of cartoony, and then that's pretty much it. And then she's just kind of tossed to the wayside for everything else. So another villain that just felt kind of shoehorned in there, and that wasn't put to very good use from the Wonder Woman movies. Then we have Enchantress, and also going in rock bottom. Look, Cara Delevingne, she's a fine actress, you know, she's nothing special, nothing to write home about. She's a gorgeous girl and all that. She's a model. That's fine and dandy, but she has one cool scene. The first transition scene when they're in the boardroom or whatever it is, and, you know, the hands of the Enchantress grip hers and flip, and then it's Enchantress. Cool. That was great. That was kind of creepy and eerie. I liked that. But everything else after that, nope. Just the most generic villain you could possibly imagine. She wants to take over or destroy the world or something, and then there's the magic floating ring of trash in the sky, and it's like, it's just stupid. It's such a bad villain. She's so generically and poorly written. She's given nothing to do, just generic lines of dialogue, a generic, basic, boring plan that we've seen a million times over, and then again, yeah, the ring of light with floating trash in the sky, and that's it. That's gonna end the world or something like that. I don't know. That Suicide Squad 2016 movie's an absolute mess as a whole. Then we have Faora, and I'm actually putting her straight in awesome sauce. She was unbelievably kick-ass in Man of Steel. I loved her, okay? She had some super memorable lines of dialogue. She was an unbelievably stoic and menacing presence. Some unbelievable fight scenes in that movie. I absolutely loved her, and I wish we got more of her somewhere in the DCEU. Like, I get, you know, she's dead, but that doesn't mean we can't get any prequel stuff, or, you know, villains and heroes come back to life all the time. She was great, and I really do wish we got more of her and even more screen time, but even with what we were given, she's going in awesome sauce, because she was just incredible in my opinion. I loved her. Incubus, right next to Enchantress, worse. If there was worse than Rock Bottom, he would be the bottom of the bottom. He is by far my least favorite villain out of any on this list. He does nothing. Less than nothing. He just, you see the transition, and then he shows up at like the end of the movie. I don't know if he has any lines at all. And then he just has this big generic CGI fight with El Diablo for like 15 seconds, and that's all the character does. Completely useless, did not need to be included in the movie, utterly wasted, and a waste of our time and a waste of screen time for other more deserving characters. Hated Incubus. Hated Incubus. Jared Leto's Joker, only a Superman because I like the end credits scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Him in Suicide Squad, trash. Would have ended up in rock bottom for sure, but I actually do like that dialogue that's like 3 minutes of screen time between him and Ben Affleck's Batman at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think that's sort of a nightmare version, the post-apocalypse version of Jared Leto's Joker is a bit cooler looking, and it kind of suits his look a bit more, so I didn't mind that scene, and that's what bumps him up into super meh. I like some of the elements of what they were going for, and I think Jared Leto is a fantastic actor when he's on his game. I just feel he was either completely miscasted or just given poor direction as his Joker. I feel like if they really just kind of let him do his own thing as the Joker, we might have had a better version, but instead, for some reason, David Ayer wanted this, like, tatted up gangster version, and it just didn't really work for me, or anybody else for that matter, it seems. A lot of people really, really hate Leto's Joker, and I'm almost there myself. Then we have KGBeast. I won't put him in rock bottom because at least he does some stuff. Like, he has a couple of scenes in Batman v Superman, and it's just, I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about this guy, to be honest. I don't put him in rock bottom because at least he does something. I'm looking at those other villains. Doomsday, massive disappointment. Dr. Poison does nothing. Enchantress, horrible. Incubus, the worst of the worst. And I don't hate this guy, and that's why I just put him in super meh, because at least he does some stuff, and he's in a couple fight scenes and has some lines of dialogue and stuff like that. At least he services the plot in some form or another, so that's why he ends up in super meh. Are you looking for the perfect gift for the movie lover in your life, or maybe you just want to treat yourself? Then look no further than the most unique piece of movie art you could possibly have with Movie Palette. Visit moviepalette.com right now and use code BAM15 at the checkout for 15% off your order. And now, back to the video. Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor, also in Superman. Look, the reason he's up in Superman and not in Rock Bottom, because he very well could be, I say it every time I talk about the movie, that he was just woefully miscasted as Lex Luthor. Even though he's Lex Luthor Jr., he still just doesn't work in the role. He definitely could have been a fantastic Riddler or something like that, but as Lex Luthor, I like some of the lines of dialogue that he got. I like some of his little outbursts and his sporadic moments. I think he does the best that he could with what he was given, but he just doesn't fit into this role for me. I don't buy him as the character at all, even this altered version of him. And I just think that he went a little bit too cartoony at times for the movie that he was in. So again, he's a little bit higher up because I like the plan, even though if it heavily relies on a lot of conveniences and other bullshit throughout the movie. And even though it would never ever actually play out like that, like again, just so many conveniences, it's so convoluted, it makes no sense at all. But I do like the plan and some of the ideas in there, and some of his lines of dialogue are pretty memorable, so that's why he's not in Rock Bottom. Then we have Ludendorff from Wonder Woman, yep, also in Rock Bottom. Cartoony, cheesy, hammy in all the wrong ways. Felt like it was a villain from a completely different movie. Pops up a couple of times, doesn't do anything, doesn't have any memorable lines, no memorable moments. I actually had to look up his name before even putting him on this list. So yeah, another shitty villain from another Wonder Woman movie. However, we finally have the one good villain from a Wonder Woman movie, being good old Pedro Pascal, coming to save the day once again as Maxwell Lord, and he is 100% going in the awesome sauce tier. The reason he's not in Godlike is because the movie's plot does him such a disservice. It does him so dirty. The movie's plot is so stupid. You have this magical wishing stone, and at the end, you know, he just becomes a mess, a shell of his former self, loses sight of what he actually loves and believes in, being his children or his child. I think it's his son. And at the end, like, denouncing his wish and stuff like that, like, he just kind of went off the rails towards the end, and that's where he kind of loses me. But Pedro Pascal's performance is wonderful. I loved him in the role. He was the right amount of hammy and cheesy and corny. He fit into this story very well. He fit into this world very well, and I think that he did some pretty fine work, and awesome sauce is befitting of the character. Now we have King Orm, and we're finally going to have our first villain in the Godlike tier. Some people are absolutely going to disagree with me on this one. Some people really do not like the Aquaman movie. I love the Aquaman movie. I am a huge defender of the Aquaman movie, a massive, massive fan of it, and a lot of it comes down to Patrick Wilson's performance as King Orm, aka Ocean Master. Just like I said with Maxwell Lord, he fit into this world, in this story, so incredibly well. He was just the right amount of cheesy and over the top and corny. He has these big bombastic moments. He has some wicked fight scenes that I freaking loved. And then of course, yeah, he has these moments where he's just screaming and shouting and has some generic lines of dialogue, and he really oversells it, but he oversells it the right way. He went all in on this character, and he brought him to life, unlike anyone else could, if you ask me. Perfect casting choice. James Wan and Patrick Wilson always work their magic together, and it paid off for me when it comes to Aquaman and his performance as King Orm. Then we have Sabbac from Black Adam. The only villain will be included from Black Adam. Generic CGI demon monster. Shows up for the last act, the big final fight for everyone to come together, and that's pretty much it. He flies around, has super strength, has some fire powers, team comes together, teamwork, woohoo, they defeat him. That's pretty much it. Just essentially a plot device to bring them together to work with Black Adam, and that's pretty much it. Just one of the most forgettable villains in recent memory. Nothing whatsoever to remember this character by, nothing to resonate with, nothing to anything at all. Horrible, horrible villain. I'm sorry, I really enjoyed Black Adam, but this villain was just straight garbage. You can't see this one because the image got oddly cropped. It's the 7 Deadly Sins from Shazam, and I'm going to put it in Superman. I liked the design of the 7 Deadly Sins. I like how each one represented the sin that they represented. You know, you had like Gluttony was this big fat one, and then this one had wings, and this one was more like lanky looking and bony looking and stuff like that. So I liked the design, but they do nothing at all. They do nothing. They are kind of half-assed because the CGI in the first Shazam movie isn't that great. So I wouldn't say half-assed. They're just not necessarily up to par that you've come to expect from these big, bombastic, blockbuster superhero movies. So they're just okay CGI monsters that kind of just pop up here and there and sit in the background and don't really do much. So love the design, but they just weren't put to good use whatsoever, if you ask me. Then we have Dr. Sivana or Sativa or whatever the hell his name was. Quite alright. It's disappointing. I probably could have put him lower, honestly, in Superman, but I love Mark Strong as an actor. I love him as a villain. I love him as a hero. I love him when he's going all over the top. I love his comedic work. I think he is a magnificent actor. One of the better actors working today, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think he's really, really overlooked. I love the guy, but again, just a really generic villain. Generic motives, generic, dull fight scenes, and just the most basic villainous lines you can possibly imagine. Overall, huge missed opportunity, tons of wasted potential, at least in my opinion, because I know a lot of people really actually like the first Shazam movie, which I do too, but the villains are the biggest weak point for that movie, if you ask me, and it's really unfortunate because Mark Strong is such a strong actor. So, missed opportunity there. Starro, I'll also put in quite alright. I love the design of Starro. You know, leave it to James Gunn to bring a giant, sentient, alien starfish to life in live action and have it actually work and make sense. Starro, again, was floating in the stars until Earth people went and took it and did their usual bullshit, took it home, experimented on it, made it this giant monstrosity. This thing can duplicate itself, attach its little duplicates to people's faces, or any being's faces for that matter, and control them. It's a cool final fight scene. I love the way that they laid that out, and the Suicide Squad comes together using their abilities, using, you know, their finesse to kind of take this giant monster down. But that final line is what sticks with me, and why this villain isn't really lower is because that final one, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's something that, you know, essentially Starro was at peace floating among the stars, and it kind of comes back to that message that humanity basically ruins everything. And that's exactly what happened. We found this beautiful, elegant creature who was just minding its own business. We brought it home and turned it into this villain. So I really liked that and where they went with that. And again, the design, just I'm so happy that somehow this worked out and made sense despite it being a giant alien starfish. But regardless, you know, that's all I have to say about Starro. Then we have good old Steppenwolf from the 2017 Justice League. You've heard me say it a million times. Generic, boring, dull. I'll throw in a couple new ones there. Drab, lifeless. Yeah, everything I just said explains the 2017 version of Steppenwolf. I couldn't possibly name off a more generic villain. All of the lines of dialogue are as basic as they come. The design is horrendous, and overall just a massive disappointment. So then we get to the actual good version of Steppenwolf, which is going straight into the awesome sauce. Could potentially even go in godlike, but I have that reserved for the best of the best of the best. This version of Steppenwolf is leaps and bounds better than the 2017 version. The design is immaculate. The fight scenes are hard-hitting, visceral, just incredible, awesome throwdowns with the Justice League. His story is so much better. It's vastly improved over the 2017 version. Everything about this version from Zack Snyder's Justice League is marginally better than the 2017 version, and that's why he ends up in the awesome sauce one. Then we get to the Thinker, and unfortunately this is a villain that was really wasted. I know him as one of the Doctors. I don't watch Doctor Who, but I just know him as one of the Doctors. When I saw he was cast, I'm like, this guy's a pretty solid actor. I've seen him a few other things. He was in World War Z, and I thought he was fine in that. And then we have him as the Thinker, and he could have been a really solid villain, but he just wasn't given enough screen time. He only pops up for a couple of scenes, and then he dies, and that's pretty much it. So I wish he was a bit higher. I wish he got a bit more to do. I wish he got to act a little more villainous, but we didn't get any of that. So unfortunately, he has to be a few tiers down than where he probably could have been. Amanda Waller, straight in godlike. Now, I was on the fence about Waller. She isn't a straight up villain. It depends on the interpretation. If you talk about the 2016 Suicide Squad, well, yeah, she pulls out a gun and just like caps all of her employees before taking off. That's straight up villain shit. But then you have this version from Peacemaker, this version that pops up in Black Adam, and then the version from the 2021 Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, and she's not as much of a villain. She's more in line with her true self from the comics and video games and cartoons, where she wants to do good by any means necessary. And it's that by any means necessary where the gray areas come in, because she does do some pretty horrendous shit. She definitely gets her hands dirty herself. She is manipulative. She is conniving. She is cunning. And that's why I still included her as a villain, because I still think that even in the 2021 Suicide Squad, she was going to kill all of them. She was going to kill the Suicide Squad for trying to save the city from Starro. So that, to me, still makes her a villain and less of an anti-hero. And that's why I included her. Viola Davis. What is there left to say about this woman? She is impeccable. One of the best, if not the best actress working today. She is flawless in everything that she does. She always gives it her all. Just an incredible talent. So definitely going in godlike. Absolutely. Then we have White Dragon, and I'm going to put him in good as gold, actually, because I love Robert Patrick as an actor. Yes, I know this guy over his career has been completely reduced to the DVD bargain bin. All he makes nowadays is B movies. He is 100% still riding his T2 Judgment Day claim to fame as the T-1000, but this was 100% one of his better performances. He's this just racist, narcissistic, arrogant, ignorant, old asshole, and he plays it up so well. I loved the costume. His fight scene with Peacemaker was great, but what I really loved about the character is what it brought out of Peacemaker and what it brought out of John Cena as an actor. It brought a whole new level to his game. It gave me a whole new respect and appreciation for John Cena as an actor, and I think that he fit well into the story, and he did a lot of solid work as the character, so I think good as gold is befitting for him. Then we get to General Zod. Michael Shannon, I'm going to say it right here because I'll be doing my ranking right after I do Zsasz. Michael Shannon as General Zod is hands down, in my opinion at least, without a doubt, the best villain in the DCEU so far. I loved his motives. I loved his performance. I loved his fight scenes with Superman. I don't have a flaw with this villain at all. I love the design of his suit. I love everything. Michael Shannon gave it his all, and he plays just the most despicable, powerful, and menacing villain that could have possibly been brought to this universe. And I hope that by some chance we get to see him reprise this role. Actually, maybe I don't. Maybe it's pretty befitting the way he went out with the neck snap, because how else were they going to stop him from just wreaking more havoc? But if he does come back, I wouldn't be completely disappointed, even if it was the same way that Superman's father came back with Russell Crowe, where he's just kind of in his ear, nagging at him, he's in his head or something like that, because we know we're getting Henry Cavill back. That would be great. But yeah, General Zod is definitely going to be first in the ranking when we get there, just after this. And then we have Victor Zsasz, also from Birds of Prey. And I actually really like this version of Victor Zsasz. He's going in good as gold. I think he could have gotten more screen time, but I love that he was just like so overly horny with Ewan McGregor's Black Mask. And I love how just creepy he was and weird he was. And I think this guy really did a solid job in the role. I wish we got a bit more of him, but what we did get, he was just a disgusting human being that like cuts people's faces off and stuff like that, and he does do the cuts into his own skin, so I think he was pretty true to the character, and I actually really liked this interpretation, and I thought it was pretty solidly done. Alright, now it's time for our ranking. So where King Orm is right now is that first place spot. General Zod here is in third. Then we drop down here. Black Manta is in that fourth place spot, all the way down to this version of Steppenwolf as the last place. So I'm actually going to go Orm here, and then Michael Shannon in first. So General Zod is my favorite villain of the DCEU, followed by Waller, then King Orm. Then we come down to this row, and I think I'll actually put this version of Steppenwolf in first, then probably Black Mask, and then probably Black Manta, Maxwell Lord, and Faora right there in that fifth place spot. Well, not fifth, actually, that's, eighth place there. Then we come here, and I think I would actually probably do it like this. Yeah, probably Darkseid next, then Zsasz, then the White Dragon. We come down here, Probably, honestly, Starro, then DeSaad, and then Dr. Sivana, then Superman. Honestly, all of these in the bottom two rows kind of blend together, but I'll do my best. I'd probably put Eisenberg as Luthor there, the Seven Deadly Sins at the back, Cheetah here, Ares here. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'd put Thinker in the middle there. KGBeast. Yeah, I'd probably leave it like that. Like, again, these bottom two rows, they're all so close because they're all pretty horrible. They're all pretty, like, not really that good. Doomsday I'll probably leave here because at least he has a cool fight scene. Dr. Poison, yeah, probably actually leave there because at least I like her mask and her, like, methods. Yeah, Incubus in last, then Steppenwolf, then probably Sabbac, then probably Ludendorff, Enchantress. No, I probably put Enchantress here. It's tough. Again, all the ones in these bottom two rows are all, they belong in those rows, and then it's pretty interchangeable. Like, you can put them any which way, and I'd be just as satisfied. Anything under quite all right when it comes to these villains, I just don't even care about. So, regardless, folks, that is my final ranking. That is my final tier list with where each character ends up. And, of course, as always, back to me. So, that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with which tier each character ended up in. While you're at it, be sure to let me know which tier you would have put each character in and why. Don't forget to suggest what other tier list videos and rankings you'd like to see. If you're a movie lover whatsoever, then my channel is the place to be for you. Be it tier videos just like this one, rankings, top 10s versus videos, I have it all and so much more, with a backlog of already almost 600 videos on the channel, with new ones coming every single week. So if you enjoyed this particular video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and if any of that sounds like it's for you, then smash that subscribe button right now. While you're at it, don't forget to ring that little bell icon, that way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.